I'm Ben Silverio with That Hashtag Show, and I am here with the amazing Willow Nightingale.
Thank you.
Willow, thank you so much for talking to us today. I'm super excited. You already got the bling out.
Yeah!
How stoked were you for that match in particular?
So, I mean, it was something that I had found out about like the week of. And they reached out to me. They were like, are you available to do this? And I was like, I am available. And they were like, well, the CMLL World Women's Championship will also be on the line. And then I was like, I'm super duper available. Like, I will be there.
Yes.
And so I had a match against Julia, who I did wrestle in like a 3-on-3 match in CMLL previously. And Viva Van, who I've also wrestled like on the independents before. So knowing that I had like such great competitors there, the history that, you know, CMLL has, this championship itself has, like for me, one of my biggest inspirations is Bull Nakano. Like around the time when I started training, I was big on Tumblr.com and like really into like, that's what really got me into like Japanese women's wrestling, and like seeing her and like Aja Kong, I was like, oh, big girls can throw down, we're gonna wrestle. And it was a huge inspiration for me to like actually jump and like go to a wrestling school. And so for me to be like, oh, Bull Nakano is the first person to be the CMLL World Women's Champion, and now that's bananas, crazy, insane. So I'm very, very honored.
That's so awesome. Bull Nakano is such a badass.
Yeah.
And you're carrying on her tradition proudly, and
Thank
I love
you.
that. It's funny that you mentioned Tumblr, because I was also on Tumblr.
Yes.
And I found a ton of Japanese wrestling on Tumblr. Yes. It was like the spot to be.
Yeah, that's how I found out about like independent wrestling fully, really. So it's still around. I hear that the people who are on Tumblr are big Willow fans. So I appreciate the community. I was you once.
Oh man, so this isn't your first title this year. You've had a great year.
Thank you. Yeah.
How excited are you that like you're just rocket strapped, you know?
Well, it's, again, I've spoken about my fandom just now with you. I have in so many interviews and stuff in the past. And it's like, being a champion is cool because you're like, oh, I'm top dog, I'm the best. But like, I have such a reverence and like respect for it. So to have like worked my way and like gone through these grueling, hard matches and like proven to myself and everyone else that like I am a champion, it's just constantly like reaffirming everything that I've put in over like the past decade to get here. And I try to be the kind of person who's like, look around and like enjoy things while you're in it, but sometimes it's hard.
Very.
I'm like, oh, it's not lost on me how like cool this is, but like sometimes it does get lost on me. And I think honestly, in winning this championship and realizing like how significant it is, or rather how rare it is to have been somebody to hold a major championship in Japan and in the US and now in Mexico, is like a very small group. And to be one of those people, like it was maybe one of the first times this year that I actually like sat down and cried and like took in like, oh my God, like you're doing something, kid. And it's hard when you're always going to let that sink in, but it really hit me over the head this time.
You know, one of your mottos on one of my favorite t-shirts of yours is nothing matters, smile anyway. You know, you've had such a year of ups and downs, and so is the world. You know, but how do you maintain that mantra when everything is kind of hard right now?
I am very lucky that I have such a great support system. So that's the number one. A lot of times I'll like look at the news, or whether that be like the world news, the United States, or even just like the wrestling world can be pretty toxic sometimes. But there's so much that I look at and like, I just kind of feel filled up with dread that I can't control it or help take away people's pain. And that weighs me down, but there's not too, like, I do what I can to help, but there's so much that's within my control. The really like the most powerful thing I can do is like, all right, look for the small thing in a day that's made me smile and help carry that on to somebody else. Because if it's weighing on me this way, I know it's weighing on you. It's weighing on, you know, your friends and family, everyone who like tunes in and watches us. I know there's a weight that they have to carry around with them. whether that be from like larger elements or their own like internal world. And so if the smallest thing I could do is like turn on some light or like take a little bit of that burden off your shoulder and smile for a second and remember that like there are good things in life, that to me is like way more powerful than anything I thought I could have done when I started wrestling. And that is really, in helping other people, I can feel better about myself. That is where I get the like smile anyway, you know. But I like I said, I have family and friends who help uplift me as well, and we all pass it on.
Because like when I'm feeling down, there are some characters and some people that I just look to that are just a shining ray of light. Like there's Elmo, there's Ted Lasso, and there's Willow Nightingale.
Thank you.
Your music is infectious. You are infectious coming to the ring, but you know you have a mean streak. Like you've had to deal with Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway recently being not so good friends. So, you know, when things like that happen, how does that make you feel when, you know, you're betrayed like that, but then also to find new friends in like Orange Cassidy and other people?
Well, like at the end of the day, I'm a professional wrestler. I have all these like smiles and rainbows and sunshine kind of like attitude about how I personally approach it.
Sure.
But obviously there's a lot of rage and aggression that I do get to let out in wrestling. And some of it is for fun and it's for sport. And like, that's really why I had initially gotten into wrestling. But you get so tied up into other people's lives and like, there's betrayal and there's heartbreak and there's, you know, obstacles that get thrown in front of you. And like Stokely and Stat is a big one. Because that's someone that I've put a lot of like love and care into for so long, like before even there was an AEW.
Yeah.
And I try to channel like rage into that. Sometimes it's hard when like you're like, oh, I'm heartbroken and hurt first and foremost, but like she's taken it to a new level.
Yeah.
She's like screwed me over when I had a big moment at the Owen and like she just attacked me backstage, F5'd me onto some crates, and like, you know, there's only so much. Like I have a big capacity for love and hate. They're like the different sides of the same coin, right?
Right.
And so just got to channel that heartbreak into rage, and that's where the wrestling comes out.
Yeah.
That's where the power. Yeah.
Maybe at Wembley.
Maybe at Wembley. Maybe we could let some of that rage out.
Oh, that would be great.
And I'll be smiling the whole time.
Absolutely.
Fingers crossed. We'll see. We'll see where it happens.
I'm sure all of us will too. Now, I've been following your career for a long time. I used to see you up and down the East Coast.
Oh, sick.
I saw you at Chikara a ton. And, you know, I know that back then you used to make your own gear.
Yes.
Do you still?
I do still make my own gear.
That's amazing.
So for a long time, like in the indies, you're like trying to save a buck.
Sure.
And like, you know, I'll just pay for the fabric. I can make it myself. I'm crafty. I'll figure it out. And when I got to like AEW, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna have as much time to make my own stuff. I'll have more funds now. I can pay somebody to do it and not worry about it. But really what it comes down to is like, I love being in control of my own presentation. Nobody knows who I am better than me.
Right.
And like the way that I want to present myself. And so if I can find the time to create that and continue molding Willow Nightingale to look the way that I want her to,
yes.
I will.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you've had some great gear over the course of your career.
Thank you.
Do you have a favorite or like one that you're most proud of?
I have a few that I really love. So like most recently, my favorite is the one that I made for Double or Nothing against Mercedes Moné. And I was kind of hoping it would be my good luck charm. I'd, you know, continue my TBS championship reign wearing this lovely white and pink. Because white to me is just like such like a star power, kind of like I'm in the all white. And then pink is my power color, pink and purple. Purple is my number one, but pink is also very girly, feminine, channeling the feminine divine. So I felt very strong in it, and like I'm very proud of the match we had, even though I did lose. But I was like, I'm gonna put this gear away for a little bit. And when I had the CMLL World Women's Championship match, I was like, I think this is time to bring it out again. I need to summon that star power, the feminine divine with my white and pink. And so I think I'm gonna be wearing that one for a bit.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's my favorite right now. Before that, I have like a purple and black that I wore ragged That when I first started AEW, I wore that all the time because I just loved it so much. But my white and pink might be my new. I'm gonna run it ragged.
Hell yeah! So finally, AEW is celebrating an anniversary this year. Huge milestone for the company. Huge milestone from Willow Nightingale being a part of it. So where do you see AEW and Willow Nightingale in AEW going from here now?
So one of the big things for me when I kind of really wanted to win a championship within the company, and I did that, and I hit the TBS. Obviously, personally, I would still love to win the Women's World Championship, and I was trying to get that with the Owen. We'll leave that there. You know, if there's a will, there's a way. I'll find my way around it. But after I won the championship, the TBS, I was like, okay, that was my first big goal within AEW, and I've done that. What do I want to do now? And I really wanted to see the company travel internationally. Obviously, we've been to Canada. We did All In last year in the UK, and we're doing it again this year. But I was like, oh, I love the Japanese fan base. I love the Mexican fan base and the experiences I've had there. I'd love to bring our entire company there. And then Forbidden Door, they announced Wrestle Dynasty, and I was like, yes, we're going to Tokyo Dome. So that, I think, is so cool that we have that coming up. As somebody who has wrestled in Arena Mexico, I really want for us to see if we could do a show there, or some sort of CMLL AEW crossover. That's really where I see us moving in the future. In the UK, like I said, we've done our big All In there, and this year we have a show at Cardiff as well. So we'll be in the UK for a bit. But I think if we could do more stuff like that, more international tours, trips, that's really where I want to see us in the future. And of course, Willow Nightingale, being the face of all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Willow, thank you so much for talking to me. This has been great. I hope you have a great convention.
Thank you. I've had a great time so far. OC and I beat up some cartoons. And on top of being the CMLL World Women's Champion, we are also now the Adult Swim Battle of the Booty Champions, Tag Team Champs, me and OC. So
hell yeah.
I'll keep fighting and defending all that.
That's awesome. Stay tuned to that hashtag show for more awesome interviews.